Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Small Teams, Big Wins. A year ago, this woman interviewed me, and today I finally get to return the favor. She sits at the center of one of the best intelligence networks in American business going on today. Danielle Karlinsky, Executive Director of Invest Pittsburgh now at Capital Analytics Associates. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I feel so weird being like on the other side of it. I remember last year it was me asking you all the questions and learning everything about you. And now I'm in the hot seat. So it's nice to see it from a different perspective.
100%. And as always, I'm joined by my talented engineer, Ben. Ben, we have a nice way to spend the afternoon here. I know me personally, I was like, had a little lunch. And then I stoked up that like afternoon pot of coffee. So we're doing good. How you doing over there?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Really excited for today. I can't drink coffee this late, but I did have a couple Diet Cokes. So,
hey,
I love that. I'm not a big coffee drinker. I'm a matcha girl. So I did stoke up on the matcha. Then I did have a Diet Coke like 30 minutes ago. So I feel like we're all on the same vibe over here.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with both of you because, so Danielle, are you currently right now based in the DR?
Yes, I am currently.
So that's bone number one, right? And Ben, are you currently posted up in Isla Mujeres, Mexico?
Yeah, Caribbean life, baby. Let's go.
I'm about to throw everything.
Jordan, you're late. You're late on the bus. You need to get yourself over to the Caribbean. You like the coffee. You have the funky shirts. That's it. You're all
in Texas, so the heat is nothing. It's actually colder here than it is in Texas.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Texas is very hot. I think the DR is probably hotter. But yes, you're missing out on the Latino life.
I love it. Well, Danielle, I always love getting the chance to talk with you because you're so bubbly, you're beautiful, you're personable. And I honestly, I don't know how you do it because at the core, maybe we should actually pause right there, right? Maybe we should pause right there. So you were kind of before the episode, you were talking to us a little bit about a transition that's kind of coming up for you, right? So you were based down in Florida, and that was kind of your market.
Correct.
And maybe I think we should even back up there, right? So you're the executive director for the Invest series, right? At each thing. Would you mind kind of telling our listeners just a little bit about yourself and kind of the role that you play within this kind of larger, intelligence community, essentially?
Yes. I'd love that. No, firstly, thank you guys for having me today. I feel very honored that you wanted to talk to me. But yes, very excited. I knew when I met you last year, you guys were doing great things. And to see where you are now, I thank you for inviting me on this incredible podcast. I'm very excited. I love a good chit chat. But yes, I am the executive director for Capital Analytics Associates. When I joined the company, I oversaw the Tampa Bay market. And then we kind of get to grow and expand and oversee the production from beginning to end and the kind of economic analysis and story behind different cities. And I was honored enough with being able to do that for Pittsburgh. And that's kind of like how I ended up meeting you. And then the third edition for Pittsburgh launched, went back to Tampa, and just wrapped up last week on the 18th of June. We closed Invest Tampa Bay, 8 months of incredible analysis of the economic story behind Tampa and its huge focus on resilience, infrastructure, and construction. And now I'm in this beautiful transition where I've just come back to Pittsburgh. It feels like we were saying it earlier. You and I spoke a year ago today, and I feel like it was yesterday. So many things have changed for you in the last month. So for me to be back in the city and be able to hear all the stories that all the leaders are going to share with me during this year that have changed, I'm expecting incredible stories. So yes, in this exciting transition at the moment.
It's amazing. And does that transition mean a transition out of the DR as well? Or do we have our hut still just, reserved down there, and you can float down there and do some remote work when you need to? Yeah.
Mexico was on the list for a while, Ben. Watch out if I end up coming to Mexico. But for now, yes, no, still in the DR. Travels are easy for me to get to the US whenever is needed. With the world being so digitalized and us being able to make great friendships and study the economy and meet incredible people and do that all through our screens. I am lucky and privileged enough to be able to live somewhere else. That being said, I will be doing a lot of trips to Pittsburgh. Everybody talks to me about Picklesburg, and I have to make sure I can live that. Amazing festival.
Picklesburg's amazing. Yeah, there's it's just great. I don't even like pickles. Yeah, I don't even like pickles.
I'm a huge fan of pickles. So not only will you see me in Pittsburgh for our upcoming summits next year, but I will be trying to visit a lot more often because I feel like I still have a lot to see and learn. So no official relocations, but some good travel plans ahead.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, especially going back to Pittsburgh right now. Pittsburgh is, for our listeners that probably don't realize, like, Pittsburgh is at this kind of beautiful intersection between, let's call it, the industrial blue collar with kind of some strategic thinking on like the academic side of stuff. It's got 6-7 universities in it, right? Just within the city center, and was an instrumental part whenever the steel industry hit that downturn, that they really invested in education, healthcare. And now what you're seeing is this amazing combination of like tech, academia, but like industrial, and tying that into robotics. And it's a lot of this applications of AI in the real world kind of space, right? Where you're like you're really seeing that. Did you see that type of it's just a very unique combo, And so I'm curious about like what you saw in Tampa versus kind of heading back. Well, not heading back to Pittsburgh, but you've been in Pittsburgh for a little bit, but Tampa's been your primary market. What are some of the differences maybe that you've seen there? Or can you just kind of describe a little bit of that like ecosystem of like Tampa versus Pittsburgh? Because you've been able to dabble into both.
Yes. And I love this question because I can definitely say that something that I'm seeing consistently happening in Pittsburgh, that kind of the rest of the national narrative hasn't caught yet, which Tampa Bay is catching up, because we did interview some incredible people like the Bellini brothers that have insane things happening in Tampa Bay right now when it comes to tech, AI, data, cyber. But Pittsburgh didn't join the AI bloom. Pittsburgh helped build the foundation for it. And I feel like that is the narrative that changes the story when you look at another city or another metro area or another market in comparison to Pittsburgh. We all know, CMU has been training the researchers that build the industry before anybody else was calling it AI. And obviously now the market is really finally catching up on that. So what we're seeing here is that last year, I think it was about 1.89 billion growth from last year to this year in AI funding in Pittsburgh. And that just goes to show the huge difference between any other market. If you talk about going into numerics, looking into Tampa, or I don't know, you wanted to look into Boston or Charlotte or any other market, that's not happening. And other markets are now catching up. And, Pittsburgh is top 10 nationally. And I think that's one of the biggest key takeaways, differences that, I saw. This year, I know my main focus for Pittsburgh's report and event is going to be huge talks on AI, on how, historically Pittsburgh took graduates into the coasts, and now they're staying in, the talent and staying in the region because the jobs are matching because of how consistent AI growth is. Whereas Tampa, you're seeing how people are slowly relocating and building that growth. So I could definitely say Pittsburgh is quite a few steps ahead of the game when comparing it on everything that's happening in tech AI that other founders might be missing in other markets.
Yeah. No, it's, it's super cool to see. I mean, so, Ben and I were both from San Antonio, and we actually went to uni together over at Trinity University. Go Tigers, baby. And, but then we actually got synced up when him and his wife were living in Pittsburgh over a year ago. And so, Ben, you were living in Pittsburgh for how many years?
I moved up to Pittsburgh in 2018, right whenever I got my undergrad. And then I just left last year, so 2025.
Yeah. So yeah, 6 to 7 years. And Pittsburgh is such a cool city in the sense that, like, man, that's where I like grew up to be like a man. It was like,
that's where you look back and you're like, Pittsburgh made me.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, though, I think both of us, it was our first kind of leaving the nest because, going to school in San Antonio, my parents lived in Corpus Christi, right? So they were 2 hours away. Jordan, you're from San Antonio, right? So we were close to family, and for both of us moving up there, getting big boy jobs, right, for our first time, it was definitely a learning process for us. And Pittsburgh was such a beautiful city to do it in.
Oh yeah, I was living in Shady Side, man. I was like, we were making like good money. Well, I went straight from undergrad into grad school, and I swear we had a weekly rotation that was just unbeaten. It was like Monday night was like dart tournament. Tuesday night was dart league. Okay. And then Wednesday night was wine night Wednesday at Shady Grove.
God, I feel like I should have gone to college in Pittsburgh. I definitely
you should have gone to grad school in Pittsburgh, girl. You should have gone to grad school in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Wow.
Thursday, you go over to Stacked and you get like half off Wells and a half off burger. Can't beat that.
Love that.
Friday, gold mark for a little boogie. Saturday, maybe repeat it. Who knows? And then Sunday was like NFL, Game of Thrones. And then you just were like rerun it. Like,
and then all around again. No, I definitely feel like I missed out.
Cost of living good, like you can go, man, you go out in, I'm sure, Tampa, you go out in Austin, Texas, $200 minimum, for like a night out with some friends, and you're getting a few drinks, stopping at a few places. And it's like, I ain't got time for that. Come on, man.
No.
Like, where's Pittsburgh at?
Is
$50 in Pittsburgh.
More comfortable when looking at going out and spending, and the food scene there is insane. The amount of incredible restaurants, Prementi Brothers, hello, that's amazing. Top number 1 on my Pittsburgh list.
I love it. I love it.
It's just like, it's exactly what you were saying at the start of this call, Jordan, where it's like, it's a mix of the blue collar and the higher education, right? There's a really relaxed feel to going around, there's a very small town feeling, but at the same time, there's a lot going on, a lot of really cool stuff going on. And as a young person just out of undergrad, it's just such a cool place to be.
Yeah. And I feel like I kind of got a glimpse into that when I went back last year for the energy summit that was over at CMU. And you really got to see how, I mean, even within Pittsburgh can get kind of small, but then as you get more rural, like you actually see how many like factories and industrial and stuff like that too. And that's why, Danielle, I think whenever we were talking last year, I was like, oh, you should go try and talk with Jake Lasorian, Yeah. And I just think that what they're doing at Gecko is so cool because you're actually using the combination. It's like, one, it's incredibly difficult to like program those robots to like go like actually stay on top of these things. But for people that don't know, it's using robotics, AI to blueprint where like infrastructural level factories, boats, ships, maritime industry, stuff with the Navy to essentially predict accidents and fix them before they happen. Which is, and so like, so like I consider myself, like, I like building cool shit and helping people, like straight up, like that's it. Like, I'm not really I'm not that complicated. Right. Yeah. But for me, like there always is this like component of, and so we work really closely with Carnegie Mellon, work with those students. And this is one of these kind of research topics that I know is kind of at the forefront of everyone's mind over there. It's at the forefront of ours. Whenever you look at like engineering, for example, you're not going to meet an engineer that doesn't think that AI is like not like kind of revolutionizing that industry and making it like just, you know, making the output and even the quality better. But if you were to go like, and this is where I'm curious, Danielle, with some of your past interviews, but like if you were to go say that same thing to someone in the gig industry, someone that makes music, someone that you know, creates films, right, that believes that what they're doing is meant to be like a human interpretation and expression, and if you're using AI to like replicate that's just like, then what's the point? Like, what's the point? Why even do that, right? Like, because it's not even tied to like human beings,
No.
you know, kind of pursuit on Earth. So I'm curious, Danielle, like, have you do it like whenever I bring that up, are there any like interviews or thoughts that kind of come to mind with almost that kind of like human boundary ethical area with AI? Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I feel like it's something we see a lot. And I think that human touch and AI kind of can also go back to what we do. Because what I do in my day-to-day is I meet with about 3 to 4, sometimes 5 CEOs in a day. We sit down over a Zoom call. We talk about family. We talk about things we have in common. We talk about travels. And then we go into talking about business, and we understand the company's growth and their importance in the market and any challenges they faced, any opportunities, any big partnerships. But we have those conversations in real time. So kind of looking at it from my perspective, a lot of people sometimes say, hey, you know, people no longer read interviews that people conduct, and that's wrong, because I can go into AI right now, I can open ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, and ask him to summarize me information on you, for example, Jordan, or yourself, Ben. And in 30 seconds, it's going to give me all the information that it can get from LinkedIn or YouTube or any news articles that you were featured at, and try to put a story for you through what it's found. But then I get to sit down with you as if I'm walking into a room where I can read your energy, see who you are as a person, notice what you said, what you didn't say. I can adjust the conversation. And that kind of intelligence that I gather lives in the subtext. So relationships, and I feel like this is something that's really important, is that a lot of companies, and I hear this in every interview because we incorporated this question in every interview in Tampa, and it is going to be moving forward for Pittsburgh, which is, and when we ask people, their eyes light up and they're like, God, I love this question. And we ask this to presidents from universities, to partners at law firms, branch managers in banks, CEOs from banks, wealth managers, tourism, mayors, and everybody loves this question because people believe a lot of the times that AI can replace the relationship layer. And then when you start talking in a conversation with them and understanding, okay, what about the outreach, the trust, the ability to read a room? And that's where the mistake comes in, because AI can really systemize what you're doing. And we hear it a lot when we talk with people that work in data, in tech, in banking, and finance, how it can help, you know, with the CRM and doing things and being more efficient and doing things faster. But then what founders say is that what they're seeing a lot is the fact that people are using AI to buy back time from the human work. And that is the key that everybody's kind of highlighting in the interviews. And that's what I love to see the most, because in a market, for example, like Pittsburgh, where human work is really deep, because if we go back, we're talking steel industry, we're talking blue collar, a lot of that can be replaced with robotics and AI, but gut instincts and history and love that people put into that can't be replaced with, you know, automating it through AI. So I think the beauty of what we're seeing is this tremendous growth where people are understanding that they can partner with AI, and it's no longer just let me ask ChatGPT how to automate something and do it faster, but where people are actually seeing how companies can benefit and triple in growth by automating certain things, but keeping that human touch.
Yeah.
So I think that's something underlying or under indexing or overlying, however you want to see it, that is touched up on in every single conversation that we might be having nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you absolutely nailed it there with your short story about how you sit down and approach your work. Because I'm thinking about what would an AI that does your job look like, right? And so I would write it up and I'd tell it, you interview CEOs, right? You get the business analytics, what's going on. But the first thing you said you do is sit down and talk about travel, family, sit down and talk about each other's personal relationships in life. If I gave my AI this job and it got the CEO on the phone, it would be like, all right, time to get to work. What is your job? How many people?
Exactly.
Right?
Because you could make, somebody could make tomorrow an AI version of me and make it sit down with, I don't know, the president of Slippery Rock University, or, talk to the president and CEO of Pittsburgh Robotics, and it can ask questions and answer. But the friendships that I've built with a lot of commissioners in Pittsburgh or CEOs, that you only have it takes 1 second of you mentioning something that I like or that I've done that will connect us. And then the friendship, the trust, the comfortableness that you can speak with changes that whole meeting. And yes, I could not be working and be sitting on the beach and, drinking a coconut water and having an AI robot do what I do, but it would never have the beauty of the deep connections, because it goes back to, look at us, we built a beautiful friendship. Some CEOs and I will, exchange information on TV shows. We've seen news, golf. I've met people that, are also running the New York Marathon like I am, and we're planning to, meet up and go run together. So yes, we sat down, we talked about business, we talked about, their penetration into the market and everything that it provides for the economy, their growth, their expansion plans. But beyond that, not only did I gather information that I can put, in a news article, in an annual report, on a spotlight, talk about it in an event, it has really honest sentiment. And I think that's, the beauty of why you can't replace certain things.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely agree with you on that.
No, 100%. Well, and it comes back to, that's exactly what we're trying to do from a slightly different angle. But, one of our kind of driving things, at least for me, right, is, I don't want to create technology that puts people more in front of screens, right? And puts people or takes people away from the human connection, right? But it's a very slippery thing on ours, because I'm saying that and I'm looking back at my last month and I'm going, I have been at a screen a ton. You know what I'm saying? And whatever. So it's kind of there's a bit of a double-edged sword there, where it's okay, on the engineer, there's this idea with all of us that are called AI vampires. And it's all of a sudden, if you've had development experience in the back, before, and then over the last year, all of a sudden you're oh my gosh, okay, I can knock out my work stuff, and then I have so many personal things I've been wanting to build, and now I can build those. And then what's happening is the opportunity cost of not building those things is higher than going to sleep. So you're no, I want to keep jamming out because I'm this is so amazing. It's whatever. But it always
a very thin line.
Oh, 100%.
Staying consistent to taking it to kind of another level.
Yeah,
it is a very.
But I'm also kind of a sicko when it comes to the engineering side. I get pretty hardcore with it. I love just I love putting together a great system.
Yeah, but then for example, you will sit down. I don't know. I think you do these podcasts monthly. I'm sure it will become a weekly thing soon, because I know this is something that started fairly recently, which might even become a daily thing. But then you do get to sit down and have these conversations. So you are fully keeping that balance, because you could have just been like, you know what, Danielle, let's do a written Q&A and I'll transcribe it and then publish it as an online ebook that people can read. And then it would have lost the beauty of the three of us sitting here together. So you do have a balance.
Exactly. Well, oh yeah. I mean, I did all my stuff from a travel trailer cruising around the country in Starlink. So I was out, I was out in the woods, out in the wilderness.
On the move.
Yeah, I had to, you got to have that, you got to have
balance out in nature, but then at the same time getting super insanely techie data AI. So, hey, it's a balance. You got to balance it out.
I'm curious how do you handle that with a little boy and family and, how do all that, how do you balance it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. I think that like both of us, Jordan, and this is one of the reasons why we get along and work well together, is we're both very empathetic, right? We care a lot about the people we're working for, and we care about helping them. And so not everything can be this, just plug it in and send it, right? Because we want to make sure they know we care, and, we care enough to be there for it. So like Darian mentioned this in a past podcast, this 4 burners thing going on, where it's like, you got the work burner really cooking, like you're putting a lot of gas into work, but you still have family, you still have personal life, you still have your own wants and needs. And so it really has become a balancing act, especially in the last month or two. I went from being a stay-at-home dad for about 6 months to like this kicking off, and my wife quitting her job, and now she's a stay-at-home mom, and I'm focusing all the work into this. And so it's like, there is an aspect of like, if I'm sitting down here not being productive, my brain is like, why are you spending time away from your son? Why are you spending time away from your family? So it kind of goes the opposite way, where it's like, no, if I'm going to spend time here, it's going to be productive. I'm going to be working on something. And I'm not just going to be thinking about it. I'm going to set my AI agent up to do it. I know it does well. And I'm going to be thinking about the stuff that needs me to think about it. Right? Because in the past, I could have gotten bogged down with the details, with putting in the data here and making sure this form is filled out, making sure everything's getting posted every day like we want it to. But I only have X amount of hours every day if I want to hang out with my family, my son, if I want to be able to brainstorm with Jordan on stuff, to actually do that data input, that like nitty gritty work. And so that's where the AI stuff really shines.
Yes. I love that. And this might be a little bit off topic, but I'm not a mom, hopefully yet, but I know that work-life balance between the amount of things that you have to do with, sitting down to brainstorming with Jordan, or getting things done when it comes to like tech or organizing in the computer, uploading things to the cloud, coding. Then I saw this lady who, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she didn't know how to cook. And I watch her videos on YouTube because she's hilarious. I don't know if she built this robot or she bought it, but she built a robot that you put ingredients on these cups and then it cooks for you. I don't know if it's a company she started or whatever. And she gets a lot of hate on the internet of people being like, why don't you take an hour off of your day and just cook a meal? Or she just takes 5 minutes, puts it on the machine and leaves it. And she spends so many hours talking on her YouTube videos about, how important it is to be a mom and dedicate every single minute to paying attention to being able to spend quality time with your family and not missing, the first time your kids walk, or the first time your kids say a certain word or fall over or see a certain animal and their reactions, and how the beauty of that and the fact that you can automate as simple things as cooking nowadays to spend more time with family, where you can automate things at work to spend more time with your son and wife. I feel like in those cases, it is just an incredible opportunity for, people to remember that, hey, let me sit back, relax, take a breath of fresh air, and kind of pay notice as to like what's happening in my surroundings. Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of similar.
100%.
And the other side of that, Jordan, I know you talk about this a lot, but it's also like when you're sitting becoming that AI vampire, right? Your brain,
Jordan is an AI vampire on
TikTok. I think I have like an old Halloween cape like somewhere over here. Like I think I need to get this.
Jordan was way more tan last year too.
You need to bring the cape, please.
Get the LED tan going right now.
Dude, you guys think I'm joking on this? Like, dude, I'm not like at all. Like,
You put it on when you're in AI vampire mode.
check this out. You guys like this right here?
I love that. Now you
My
just
little-
the red light glasses that protect you from too many hours on the screen, and then you are the ultimate AI vampire.
yeah, yeah. Well, I see. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this back on Danielle because I don't know. You might just be like a superior like AI human because I have like a certain threshold of social battery, right? Like I consider myself a very outgoing person. I consider myself very, I get a lot of energy from people. But I think if I was conducting that many interviews and I was having to be on like that, I wouldn't be able to do it. So my jab at you is like, I don't know how you do it. Like, how do you process and kind of synthesize like that much information while still, being on, right?
Well, and especially empathy, right? Especially because it's not information like we deal with, Jordan, like data. It's it's feelings, it's stories about people's families, right?
Yeah.
And that, at least for me, like that takes up more space because you care about it, right?
Yes.
That's a good point.
I think that's a really good question, and I'm going to try to answer it, trying to like tick off everything that you probably want to know. But I'm a social butterfly, as you can tell. You've probably noticed I love to talk. I can talk for hours. I can entertain myself. And when I started working with capital analytics, and there were weeks when I could do, I don't know, 20 meetings a week. That's meeting 20 different people without counting internal meetings and phone calls and everything. And it would get to the end of the day, 5 p.m. and I'd be like, okay, God, I'm exhausted. I've been speaking for the whole day. I'm done. 6 p.m. It's like I reset and I'm back to like wanting to have conversations with people. So I definitely feel like that's part of my personality. And that's something I've always said. And I love when a lot of the CEOs or entrepreneurs that we meet with, when they say, so good that you have so much energy and that people notice it, because it is not easy. But when you do love what you do, and I've always been a very curious person. I will research, Google anything and everything. I want to understand it all. And to actually have the honor and privilege to sit down with the people who founded companies and that are not, what Google is saying about them, but are the exact person that is talking about the story of how they founded it, or how operations are on a daily basis, or how things took an extreme turn from one day to another and things changed or grew, or partnerships. To be able to hear that, for me, it is so thrilling that when I finish a meeting, I'm already looking forward to starting the next one, because I can't wait for the stories that I'm going to hear.
Yeah.
Beyond the personal chit chat that I always like to do, because I feel like if I hop on a Zoom call and I'm like, right, nice to meet you. Okay, so how's business? Or how's the economy doing? People are going to be like, whoa, chill. So I always like to do a little chit chat. So beyond the beauty of getting to know people, knowing that I'm going to go into hearing their business stories and everything they've been through that brought the company to where it is now, I feel like that's what excites me. But then going back to what Ben mentioned of kind of like on an emotional level, or, kind of that empathy, there can be days where it is a little bit hard.
If you're running on relationships, if the business you built lives and dies by the trust you hold with the people on the other end, the work at the center can't be automated away. But the operational layer around it, the scheduling, the follow-up, the research, the handoffs, that is where your week disappears. And that is what AITP was built for. Managed agentic services, custom AI, human in the loop, ROI first. Book a discovery call with us at synapticstack.ai.
Because, and I always tell this story whenever we interview hospitals, or specifically, sectors that go a little bit more into hospitals that do childcare, or women's centers, or any kind of institutes that do cancer research. And a lot of the times in these interviews, CEOs and company owners are not just talking about, hey, this is the company, this is what we do. everything they say and the reason why they talk about it comes with a personal story that they've gone through that has led to that, or something they've experienced at work. And I have had meetings where I did have tears rolling down my eyes, hearing some stories of, success stories of patients or people that have gone through things, or reasons why. Recently we met Ibis Healthcare in Tampa Bay. They're opening a women's mental health center called Mariposa Foundation soon. And to hear what led them to do that and the stories that women have gone through, that can be really hard. And some of them stay with you for a long time. And I feel like that's where maybe the fact that I run plays a really important role in what I do, because I know how to, okay, it is the end of the day. I've piled up a lot of information. Then I can go on my run after work. And that's kind of like a time where I clear my mind or think very deeply into something that I've learned when it comes to numerics or businesses, or kind of try to let go of anything emotional I could have held, because humans are sponges. Anything that you listen here, you will absorb it. And that's where I'm always like, kudos to doctors, lawyers, teachers that, actually see this hand to hand and go through these things and then tell us these stories that affect us, but they actually live it. So, yeah.
No, so my dad was a hospice chaplain for probably the last 10 to 15 years of since working. Now he's retired. But I used to always tell my dad, I'm like, he's going to someone that's on their deathbed to go help comfort them. And it might just be being a spiritual resource. It might not necessarily be aligned with Christianity like he believes, right? But he's got to be there as just a resource, right? For people. And I'm just like, Pops, like, how do you not bring that ish back home with you? Like, how do you not wear that? But just able to experience that fully, and and still just being able to, I don't think like compartmentalize is the right word, but just a different it's just a different kind of level of empathy, while still being able to just see the positivity in life, or see the complete picture in life, I guess.
And it's a huge emotional intelligence for people that work like your dad. Maybe he's had a horrible day and yet he has to go to work with a smile on his face because somebody else is having it tougher. Yeah. And he still does that and then comes home with a smile to you and the family. Obviously, I'm not in one of those situations at all. Mostly we hear stories and compile a huge amount of information that I try to write down. And I have God knows how many books on my desk of post-meeting notes and things that I then go back to and read about and research and dive deeper into. But it is difficult. And obviously what your father does is incredible.
Yeah. Well, don't sell yourself short here, though, Danielle, because you said you have 4 or 5 of these CEO meetings a day. I imagine something bad can happen during your day, not even related to one of the meetings, and you still have to go and talk to these people. And these are CEOs of large, successful companies. They're expecting a level of, I'm sure, professionalism, research from you as someone who gets their time to interview them. They value their time very highly. So you, I'm sure, have a high level of emotional intelligence as well to be able to handle that, not compartmentalize it, but process those emotions, even if it needs to happen later in the day with your run, and then keep going. I think that it definitely shows resilience on your part.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I mean, at the end of the day, humans are sensitive. We all have a lot going on and anybody can have a bad day. And a lot of the times we think that life is great and it's all rainbows and colors for everybody because that's what you see on social media. But behind the screen, everybody has their own story and you can have tough days. And obviously going into a meeting with a Fortune 500 CEO or, a very big company owner that I've recently, right before going into my meeting the day before, perhaps watched an interview of theirs on CNN or the news. And you want to maintain that level of professionalism and when you go into the meeting. But something I've noticed, and I think that's the beauty of what we do, is when I started, a lot of the times going into the meetings, I was really scared, not scared, but worried, like, am I, the right level of intelligence? And then you realize that for you to connect with someone and them to talk about their business with you, no matter of research that you can do, or no matter of articles that you can read going into it, or preparation, if you feel comfortable, you make the person feel comfortable, everything just kind of flows. So I think that kind of also plays, kind of a significant role, but it does take a lot to, go meeting after meeting. Maybe in the morning you're talking to a hospital, right after that you're talking to a law firm, then you're talking to a bank, and you need to reset your mind from, okay, everything I've just heard right now is in terms of healthcare. Let me take it a step back so that I can then take it a step forward and look into banking and finance and the market and stocks and private investment and banking. And then you have to take another step back and then another step forward and go into K-12 or prep education, and
right.
To be the better day of tomorrow, and how they're building success and are going to be, the little people that are shaping the future of these places that we talk with and talk to. So I feel like in that sense, it does take a lot of emotional intelligence to be like, okay, reset and let's go again.
Yeah, the versatility is off the charts. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely can sit through any dinner conversation at this point. At such a young age, you can throw me out anywhere and I'll maintain the conversation between everything I've learned, read, and know. So I am definitely thankful for that also.
It's like the Thanksgiving dinner final boss, right?
Yeah.
And Danielle, I imagine, that's why we were excited when you accepted the invitation to the show, because I would imagine that you go into most of your meetings and people are asking about you, but you're not necessarily the kind of central point of the interview, right? Like you're the one, like you're doing small chat and you're talking about stuff, but you're connecting with them, right? So I guess, how is it kind of being on the other side? And on that note, I do want to ask you something a little bit more personal about yourself. And I want to try and understand maybe kind of from how you grew up or your upbringing, where that kind of sense of curiosity kind of came from for you. If you can kind of pinpoint it or kind of share a little bit about that.
Of course, you're asking how it feels for me to be on the other side, as in now, or when I'm in the meeting and it's not?
How does it feel now being you're the point of the show, right? As compared to how many interviews do you think you do a month that you're like overseeing and
I would say probably, to look at it from a yearly perspective, perhaps about 450 a year.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe it could go up to 500 a year, 450, 500 a year. And I've never been the person in the hot seat like I am today.
Let's go.
So this is my first time. And I do thank you guys for it. It does feel weird because a lot of the times when I do go into meetings, people will always ask, where's your accent from? Where are you from? You have a different surname. So I do get a little bit of attention on me, and I get to talk a little bit about me, which we all love to do, and
totally.
Like, who are you? Where do you come from? And I feel like that's always nice, because it's nice to know that, hey, we're in this meeting, it's about you, but you're also asking about me, which is, always nice. But to it all be centered on me today, I was nervous going into it. It's different because I feel like I want to ask you guys so many questions.
Yeah, we do the question asking, all right? We do the question.
And I'm like, no, don't ask that, Danielle. This is not the moment. And I feel like that's just my persona. So that's why maybe I also do enjoy these interviews a lot. I ask a lot of questions. When I was younger, I was that annoying person you don't want to sit next to on a plane, because I was like, where are you going? And why are you going? Do you have family there? Why are you traveling on a Wednesday? And what are you going to do? And so I feel like that's why the question asking is a natural thing for me. But yes, it feels nice to be on the other side of the seat. But going back to what you asked, Jordan, kind of how did I end up in the seat? I have always really been drawn kind of to economic stories behind cities, not kind of just like the actual headlines. It is nice to, open the news and see what everybody is saying, but the actual decision making behind things. And when I was younger, just to kind of give you that backstory also, I was born in Los Angeles in California to Russian parents. My mother moved to the south of Spain when I was about 3 years old. So I grew up in Spain. Then I went to London to study film and acting. In my pursuit to be an actress, I realized this is not for me because I am an overanalyzer. I go to a restaurant, I want to understand how it works. Why is it working? How is it running? What does it need to run? Then I go to a bank and I want to understand, how things are operating. And that's kind of when my interest came into businesses. So I went to study international business and economics at university, quit the acting. And then that's kind of how I ended up in the seat. I realized I was a bit of a curious cat. I wanted to know how decisions were made, how companies were built. When you're younger, you are a daydreamer. And I always watched Shark Tank, and I saw people come up with business ideas, and then years later you see them boom. And I always thought, okay, how were these decisions made, and how did the model expand, and how did they end up, becoming a franchise, and how are they operating in so many places, and what are they doing? And then, okay, what is their impact into the economy? They are a key player, for example, in healthcare or automation system of something, or a law firm, but who are their partnerships? Do they work with other banks? And then I had all of these questions that I couldn't find answers to. And then I came across Capital Analytics Associates, and I saw that they gave answers to a lot of the questions. And now I get to sit in a room with a lot of the decision makers and the decisions, and where they start with the CEOs that are actually making them. And I get to do that across multiple organizations. We cover 19 markets. So even though I anchor Pittsburgh and Tampa, I can sit in any interview if I want in Charlotte, in Houston, in Jacksonville, in Palm Beach, in Miami, in any market that we cover, and hear stories of, how stories were created that now build the incredible cities that drive the American economy. So I feel like that's kind of what got me going there, being a curious cat.
I love it. Well, and all I'm thinking about is like, you obviously went to uni, got the education, of course, right? But I'm also thinking like, oh my gosh, like what an amazing way to soak up so much knowledge from so many different industries and so many different ways of, like threading it all together from just so many different businesses too, right? So part of me is also like, let's say 15, 20 years down the road, what is your kind of ambition? Do you think you want to stay operating in kind of a similar environment, or do you one day kind of see yourself maybe taking all this knowledge that you have and kind of going, man, I might start my own business one day, or something like that?
That's a really interesting question, because I do get asked. People ask me a lot. They're like, you compile so much information from, talking to the state fair, to the county commissioner, to, small wealth management firms that are now multi-million management firms. And they're like, you have so much information, you could possibly go and do something. And it is something people think about. And if we look 15 to 20 years down the line, I definitely know I want to stay in the same line of business. I don't think my curiosity is ever going to die. And, if we look 5 years back, we didn't think AI would be what it is today. So if we look 5 years ahead, the amount of things that are going to change in the world is just tremendous. So I don't think I ever want to lose that opportunity of still being able to sit down and talk to people and see the automation or changes that their companies are going through. And even if you look 15 years ahead, years ago, people talked, flying cars might be a thing. It is a thing in Tampa now. There is a whole company dedicated to working on flying vehicles, and they have flying drones and the transport things, and so many things happening. And you read an interview that we did with them 2 years ago to now it's completely different. So who knows what it's going to be in 3. So I definitely do for now and looking forward, want to stay in this line of business, but you never know where life will take you.
I love it.
My dream is to be a mom one day. So hopefully I will be honored with that gift, because it is a full-time job also. I'm sure you know that, Ben, by your wife. But for now, definitely stay in this line of business. I never want to lose knowledge and interest. But maybe in the future start putting other things together.
Yep. And Danielle, I wonder if as we kind of wind down, if, as you've, for potentially listeners, because one point of this podcast is that we like being kind of an educational, technical resource for people, right? But another whole kind of side to that is, even if we like hit one person that has been sitting on that they have, and they have that entrepreneurial spirit, but they're just terrified. They've either been locked down by the constructs of the world telling them that they can't do it, or it's impossible, or, they have this maybe misguided idea that everyone just starts it and makes it and no one has to like suffer or do anything. I don't know. Right. But if we were able to kind of reach someone early in their journey, would you mind just kind of sharing like a nugget from something like that you've consistently heard from, CEOs or just different people that have been able to kind of jump off the deep end for, and then learn to kind of swim and stay afloat? If there's just kind of one thing that comes to mind that you've kind of consistently heard.
Don't wait.
Yeah.
Do not wait. People always tell me that they waited too long for the conversation. They waited too long for the launch of a product. They waited too long to go into the market. They waited too long to analyze a spreadsheet. They waited too long to hear people's opinion, or they were too affected by people's opinions to make it their own thing. I consistently hear, do not wait and do what your heart kind of tells you. If you have to believe in yourself, nobody else is going to do that. When we live in a society now that if I want to do something, before I do it, I'm asking 50 other people what they think about it. And everybody's single answer is going to influence my decision on what I do. Don't do that. That is my biggest advice. And it's what I've learned from talking to the most people. Be smart. Obviously, don't throw yourself out there into the wild completely. But if there is something you want to do, if you do have a business idea, if you have a passion, primarily a passion, do it. Take it out there. People will tell you it could fail. People will tell you it's not going to succeed. Do not soak up any of that negativity. Trust your gut instinct. Our minds are our biggest enemies. And a lot of the times you hear people saying, no, but I was scared, but I didn't know, but I had to consult. Don't wait for other people to make action for you. Go ahead and do it. And be your biggest supporter, be your biggest fan. Surround yourself with people that know that. So get comfortable early is kind of what people say. Get really comfortable really early before that uncertainty kind of hits you. So don't stay curious for too long is kind of what I would summarize it in. I feel like that is probably a really common thread that we're seeing when I ask people these types of questions. I've heard stories of multi-million companies now that were founded by people in their cars. And they lived in their car. They'd been living in the car for years. They had the idea. They were like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? They did it. Now run multi-billion companies. Just do it. Don't hold on to the uncertainty. Don't get comfortable with your own curiosity. Just kind of get comfortable with being like, and going all in and doing it. Because when you do it with love, you do it with passion, it's never going to fail you.
I love it. I love it. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for your time today. This was so much fun. We'll have to sync up whenever I get back to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I need to put you on the hot seat and get your updated interview, because I want to ask you back, what made you guys throw yourself out there with everything you're doing?
Sounds good. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait until that one to figure it out.
I will patiently wait to hear the answer. But thank you for having me today. It's been great, and I'm honored that I get to through this incredible and wonderful podcast where you featured the most wonderful interviews to talk about the beauty of what Capital Analytics Associates is building across 19 markets. And to anybody that's hearing this, open the door to them if they didn't know us to go see what we're doing and read these stories. And I thank you for letting me be a voice in this beautiful podcast that you guys have.
Hey, where can they find you? Where can they find CAA?
Yes.
Any newsletters, summits, podcasts coming up? Anything that they need to know about?
Definitely check us out on our website, which is capitalanalyticsassociates.com. We have the most incredible spotlight ons there, which are like highlights to people's interviews or key important conversations, as well as news articles that we publish daily and kind of weekly on very big changes that are happening in the market, an insane AI and data website to talk about news and trends across the 19 markets. We have a beautiful podcast. You can also find us on YouTube and listen to all of the panels that we host at our CEO summits and actually hear what leaders are saying. Mayor O'Connor joined us in Pittsburgh in February. And he did the most wonderful fireside chat with our CEO, Abby, about where Pittsburgh's heading. And then we had 3 great panel conversations with the most amazing panelists. And we do that across 19 markets. So on YouTube, you can find every single panel conversation on our website. And then you can subscribe to our newsletter and stay up to date with events and things that are happening, as well as find us on LinkedIn. So many platforms to look for us and stay up to date with what's happening in the cities.
Amazing. And if you guys have a big win across a small team that you want to share, you can always apply to be on the podcast, and always love highlighting these stories. Danielle, thank you so much again.
Thank you, guys. I've loved being here. I thank you so much for this.
Sweet.